Imagine this: you begin to notice the same exact phrases, repeated by different news anchors, on different channels, in different cities, word for word. That's not journalism, that's a script. In the 1950s, the CIA launched Operation Mockingbird, a covert effort to influence the American media by embedding agents within newsrooms. The goal? Shape the narrative, control public opinion, and it worked. Declassified documents and congressional testimony later confirmed the operation's reach. Over 400 journalists were secretly working for the agency. While the program was officially discontinued, the playbook survived. Today, you don't need spies in the newsroom, you just need consolidated media ownership and corporate-aligned messaging. It happens through consolidated ownership and corporate narratives. Here's a fact for you. Just 5 major companies now control 90% of all US media. One voice, many faces, and far more synchronized messaging. In 2018, the Sinclair Broadcast Group forced hundreds of local anchors to read an identical script. The footage was chilling. One narrative, zero debate. We've added a link in the description box if you'd like to watch it. This illusion of choice? Well, it's not just media, it's education too. When the same elite foundations funding schools also shape public discourse, something pretty sinister happens. Dissent gets drowned out. Teachers who question the curriculum, silenced. Parents who speak up, smeared. School board meetings, now they're war zones for control, not collaboration. In 2021, the National School Boards Association wrote to the White House, labeling protesting parents as domestic terrorists. Just days later, the FBI was involved. And these weren't radicals, they were moms and dads. But when you question the system, you become the enemy. And honestly, it kind of proved the point. The illusion of choice is just that, an illusion. So, what does media control have to do with schools? Well, everything. When news outlets echo the same narratives promoted by education policy groups and elite foundations, dissent is drowned out. Parents who question curricula are painted as extremists. Teachers who push back are accused of misinformation. School board meetings become battlegrounds not for truth, but for control. And it's all reinforced by the 24-hour media machine. The media is supposed to be the watchdog, but today, it's the lapdog. When journalism trades truth for influence, when questions become crimes, and when dissent becomes dangerous, education suffers, democracy suffers. And the generation watching it unfold, they suffer most of all. What happens when people begin to speak out? When teachers challenge curriculum, when parents question board decisions, and when citizens ask who's really making these choices? What happens next? The answer? They're labeled, silenced, punished. Across the country, educators have lost their jobs for refusing to promote ideologies they don't believe in, not because they were unqualified or ineffective, but because they asked the wrong questions. In Loudoun County, a teacher was suspended for refusing to affirm gender identity policies that clashed with his beliefs. He wasn't hateful. He was thoughtful, but that didn't matter. One teacher, one opinion. And the system made an example of him. At school board meetings from coast to coast, parents began to show up, concerned about what was being taught. They questioned mask mandates, gender policies, racialized lessons, and transparency, and how were they rewarded? In 2021, the National School Boards Association sent a letter to the White House, likening parent protests to domestic terrorism. Days later, the FBI got involved. These weren't extremists. They were moms, dads, concerned citizens. But in today's climate, asking questions is a threat. And what about those inside the system? The whistleblowers. Teachers and administrators who expose questionable policies or political bias often face harassment, termination, and character assassination. An anonymous California teacher shared lessons being taught to children, lessons that promoted activism over academics. Her reward? Threats, smears, and ultimately, unemployment. In healthy systems, questions are welcomed, but in corrupt systems, questions are punished. And when fear replaces free speech, education becomes propaganda. The classroom becomes a battleground, and those brave enough to speak become the casualties.